Hello and welcome. Today I'd like to talk with you about the comments on some of my previous videos. I figured an intermission would be appropriate with how difficult it was for me to get back to the Tomb of the Giants after I died the first time. So I'll be sharing in the lower portion the first time I was exploring Tomb of the Giants, and then up above is me running back to Tomb of the Giants. And once I get to the bonfire in Tomb of the Giants, that's where we'll continue the next Tomb of the Giants video. But to get to the comments, I want to say my Navy veteran story, I really appreciate the love I got on that one. Someone said, I still am extremely thankful for your service and I'm happy for succeeding in your journey to happiness. And I really appreciate that. We may not agree politically, but as long as we can recognize that people are just trying to get by, I think that's a great sentiment. Another person commented, never thought about someone in your exact situation, and regardless of anyone's personal beliefs, these stories and your experiences are worth sharing. And honestly, it warms my heart. To be able to connect with strangers over the internet is one of my favorite things about broadcasting myself on this site so far. And I'm looking forward to being able to continue doing that as we explore the game of Dark Souls, because this is such a fun experience we get to have together. Another person commented, I'm definitely well. I know the body I was born and is my body. You know, you, my friend, are not well mentally. I think, whatever, he goes on to... Now, this sort of represents some of the more interesting comments I get, where they assume that there's something wrong with me because of the way I live. But honestly, I wish I could show you my day-to-day life. I am a very boring person. I go to work, I go to school, and I make videos on YouTube and play Dark Souls. That's probably the most interesting thing about me. There was a comment on the last video I want to address just because it was a little bit odd. It said, will you talk about the woke Fallout New Vegas mod? Probably not. I am not in the Fallout mod community. I actually am playing Dark Souls. If you were watching the video, you'd hopefully see that. I do put it up here. So thanks for the question, but probably not. And I also want to address, you mentioned this person is injecting pronouns into your game, but did you know pronouns actually just exist in language? It's the most wild thing. By the way, don't ask me to cover something you already have an opinion on, and it seems as though you didn't listen to the part of my video where I mention everyone getting their opinion on Dark Souls from VaatiVidya, because you actually do the exact same thing by referring to someone else's investigation. So am I supposed to go and have an opinion on work other people have already done? I'm busy playing Dark Souls. Have you been listening? As for, will I cover the woke New Vegas mod? Probably not. Will I cover the woke New Vegas? Maybe. Actually, I did mention Fallout 3 being the source of my anti-communist sentiment, and while I am not necessarily anti-communist, I don't believe they're as much of a threat as I did when I was younger. I believe that the means of production should be restored to the working class rather than the wealthy class. I think Elon Musk doing a Sieg Heil at a presidential inauguration is a little questionable. But am I a communist? Nope, just woke. And some of the other video comments I got on that one, I really appreciate. Generic, always great to see you. John Boy, if you did happen to get Dark Souls Remastered, let me know how far you got. And then person whose name I'm uncomfortable saying, I appreciate the kind words. They're always appreciated, so thank you very much. Now, what many of you may be here for, because I put this comment on the thumbnail, someone said to me, you need Jesus. And the reason I left this one till last is because I really want to get into it. When I was about 15, 16, I converted to the Church of Latter-day Saints, which to the layperson is Mormonism. And while I found the experience to be incredibly insightful, it's hard for me to differentiate between Christianity from Catholicism and Christianity from Latter-day Saints. in terms of the experience of a religious one is incredibly personal. You can't necessarily enforce your views on other. And when you go about saying you need Jesus, what you're doing is you're deflecting the choice that you have in a situation. If you'll remember some of the teachings of Jesus from your mythology, you'll remember that he raised Lazarus from the dead. He didn't look at the dead body of Lazarus and go, you need a doctor. He didn't go up to lepers and go, you need a doctor. He didn't go up to the hungry and go, you need bread. Jesus was a person who was about doing. And while I may not necessarily believe that the mythos surrounding him is entirely true, I do believe that if you live a virtuous life, that if there is a God in this world, you will be rewarded afterlife. And even still, if there is no such thing as an afterlife, I think that there is something positive in leaving a good mark upon the world. If you want to know what doesn't necessarily leave a good mark upon the world, walk up to people and tell them you need Jesus. If you go up to someone and you say you need Jesus, interestingly enough, that sentiment ought to be reflected back at you. And I tried to do that with my comment back by saying I think he would have engaged with a trans woman. And the reason I say that is because Jesus was a virtuous person. He didn't look upon the morals of the world or the way other people were representing it. And to be honest, trans rights, as soon as we get past a certain point, aren't going to be a major issue because we represent such a small part of the population. That's why when people go, oh, the trans debate, this and that, and they come and try and argue with me in the comments, you're not going to change my identity through a YouTube comment. Unfortunately, the world doesn't work like that, and I take the positive ones to heart. The negative ones are kind of water off a duck's back. I got kicked out of the Navy for being trans. What are you going to do on YouTube, you know? But that's why I mentioned he ought to be the beacon of compassion that he represents Jesus as. For those of you interested in what I did after my stint in Mormonism, I was Mormon for about a year, and then after that I converted to Buddhism. And it wasn't until I came out as trans and started being discriminated against that I realized my faith in Buddhism hadn't necessarily been as honest to myself as I should have been. And I recognize my experiences are limited in nature, but it's that gives me comfort that when I engage with these people in the comments, you know, perhaps it stokes some hate. There's this one person who said I reported his comment, and so I called him a clown. And after that, he said something along the lines of, I'm not freaking out. And so occasionally I just go in and delete whatever he posts next. And he's been coming back for I think it's been 4 days now he's come back and left comments on there. Probably ought to check if he's there again so I can delete his comment. I'll have another episode very soon with the completion of Tomb of the Giants. And have a wonderful day. Bye.